Randall Hughes with God Glorified, and we're just finishing working toward the end of the Sermon on the Mount, beginning in Matthew chapter 5 and then reading through chapter 6 and into 7, and some awesome teaching of Jesus Christ. He begins in the reading where we were, beginning at verse 21, with 6 different statements where he says, either you have heard or it has been said. He doesn't say it is written. In other words, these are places here that Jesus is trying to correct misunderstandings and misinterpretations of the law. It was commonly said this, but that is not the case. And so he talks about anger and hatred and killing and having those in the proper. What he's going to is to the heart of the matter, to the motive behind these things. He talks about adultery. He talks about looking on the woman to lust. He talks about divorce. He talks about making oaths and swearing, and that your yeas should be yeas and your nays nay. And we live in a world that people don't understand that. I had a video I did some time back on your heart monitor is your mouth. Something about that. I don't remember all the details I did on it, but somebody commented and was like, they were going, that has nothing to do with salvation. And I was going to James chapter 1 where it says that man's religion is vain if he doesn't control his tongue. Here Jesus is saying, there's not a lot of slang you need to be throwing around. You need to be careful. That's all I want to warn you. You want to make sure that you're reflecting Jesus Christ. And so that's something very important for you to understand. And then an eye for an eye, but he says you resist evil, and that you should go the extra mile, and you should give to them that ask. And then to love thy neighbor and hate your enemies. But he said to love your enemies and pray for them that despitefully use you, and to be perfect or complete like our Father. And that's what we're striving to be. We're not seeking earthly goals or ambitions of other men's achievements, but we're looking to be like Jesus, to have the mind of Christ and to reflect him. And so then he talks about giving and fasting and praying. Of course, the Lord's Prayer, a great example. One of the great things that he shares there in chapter 6, verses 14 and 15, is that if you don't forgive others, God will not forgive you. Critical for people to understand and know that. And so we're not laying up treasure here on earth. We're laying up treasure in heaven. We're seeking to have our treasure there because that's where our heart will be. He talks about judging, and that we should not judge others and or expect the same measure to be judged or measured against you. If I'm going to judge you and say this is what you need to do, then I need to be doing the same thing myself. It's basically what he's saying. The problem is, the challenge of judging someone else is, I judge me by my motives, but I judge you by your actions. You judge me by my actions, but you judge yourself by your motives, because you know all the situations and circumstances and the craziness in your world that led you to make that really crazy decision. You know that, but I don't. And vice versa. You don't know all the situation. And that's why that Indian adage, never judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes, is it's a very wise statement, because we don't know what they're going through. And so some amazing truths here. Ask, seek, knock. God is a rewarder. He's a giver of good gifts. And then, of course, we ended on the golden rule. Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is the basic statement that's made there. And so I pray that you are blessed by today's readings, and that God will be with you richly. In Jesus' name.